So give us a little preview of this earnings season that we're going to see this week and into next week. What are you expecting? Home Depot got off to a strong start this morning.
Terrific numbers from Home Depot, and I would expect you're going to see the same thing out of several of the other retailers. Macy's you have tomorrow, you've got Walmart on Thursday. I would expect it's a healthy consumer environment. The last quarter, third quarter, was a very strong consumer-driven quarter. If you look at the MasterCard spending pulse numbers in the quarter, we were looking at a 5 to 6% overall consumer growth, and that's reflected in each of the sectors. Home Depot hardware was up 7% last month, and that's indicative of what kind of numbers Home Depot was seeing.
We're going to get retail sales numbers out later this week as well. Does that indicate that you think there's going to be a rebound in the retail sales numbers, because they've been a little disappointing of late?
I expect that you're going to see over the course of the next several months pretty good overall retail sales numbers. I see it in the spending pulse numbers. I see it in the earnings and the traffic numbers when you look at the e-commerce sales. So I expect all of these companies, obviously there's winners and losers, but I expect in aggregate the consumer environment to be pretty good in the quarter.
Just what I wanted to ask about, winners and losers. So differentiate a little bit among the different parts of retail. What do you think will probably do a little better and what will do a little worse?
You know, what's surprising to me is if I look at groups of retailers, so off-price retailers are doing terrifically well. The hardware retailers doing well. Department stores in aggregate have not done as well. They've been losing share for years. There are outliers within that. The Kohl's, the Macy's have done much better. But the luxury consumers, retailers doing reasonably well. This is an environment that's surprising in that every sector has actually held up pretty well in this environment. And, you know, that's unusual for what we've been seeing over the last several years.
Well, to that point, if you take a look at, say, same-store sales for Target, Walmart, Kohl's, and Macy's, looking at the have and have-nots, it's not good enough to just beat Amazon or work on e-commerce. You actually have to grow. What's going to be the next frontier? Who can peel back the winners for them?
No, I think you're absolutely right. The omni-channel, which we used to talk about, which was buy online, pick up on store, have a single view of the inventory, that's table stakes today. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing it, some doing it better than others, and the ones that aren't doing it are losing. The next wave, as I would call it, is going to be about analytics. It's going to be about how do you really understand your customer better, be able to target their what they want, be able to predict what they want. And that's going to require another set of investments that we haven't seen in the past. I've seen some companies hiring several hundred data analysts. That's not what you would expect out of a retailer.
Well, exactly, out of a retailer, but not out of an Amazon. I mean, Amazon does have that sort of data crunching ability, doesn't it? So does it have an advantage as it moves into brick and mortar? And for example, Walmart moves into online. Does Amazon have an advantage because they already have a lot of that data analytics in place? You
know, it's interesting. You have one going one direction, one going the other. I think Amazon and Walmart are both winners. I think there are going to be others that fall by the wayside. Amazon doesn't do brick and mortar as well as a Walmart, let's say, or a Target. So those companies are now learning how to do some of the analytics that an Amazon does, but the Amazon's trying to learn how to do what the Walmart is doing. They're both going to do well, but they're both having to make investments in this environment.
Besides having run Saks, you now are with MasterCard, a senior advisor there, and MasterCard has an analysis out, a projection of the retail shopping environment for the holidays. We showed it a bit ago. Let's put it back up now. Overall, what you're projecting, which is fairly encouraging. It's in the 5% range, with electronics being above that at 6.3%.
I think this is an extremely strong environment, and the MasterCard spending pulse numbers reinforce it at a 5% growth for the holiday season. We're up 5% plus for the year to date. Think about it. 2 years ago, we were at 3%. Last year, we were at 4%. Now we're growing at 5%. This is about as good a consumer environment as you've been able to see in years.
So 5 sounds great. Take a look at what your e-commerce projections are.
Well,
that's 20%.
Yeah, e-commerce at 20%, and that's been on top of a 20%. So we're talking about a very strong, healthy consumer. The consumer wants the product anywhere, anytime that they want to get it. So it's not so much just about e-commerce sales versus the brick and mortar sales. It's together what's going on, and it's not that brick and mortar is dying. In fact, brick and mortar is driving some of the e-commerce sale. It's this interchangeability. Mobile is critical. So you've got about 80% of sales are affected by mobile in one way or another. So the consumer who buys in the store is actually buying more online, and vice versa. So when you have a store, let's say you're a company that's an internet-only company, and you open up a store, where you open up that store, you tend to have about 3 times as much sales on your internet business. So the two are going hand in hand. So it's no longer Amazon is just a brick and mortar, is just an internet, and a Walmart is just a brick and mortar. That's why you have this convergence going on, and that's why the investments of not just CapEx, but the analytics, the technology. That's why retail's so hard right now, because it's not one or the other, and you can't just do one. You've got to make the investments for both. I find what's interesting as it relates to MasterCard also is that it's no longer just about Black Friday and the weekend.
Yeah.
It's about the entire season. It's spread out. The deals have already started. You realize that the Sunday before Christmas is going to be as big as Black Friday. So now you have a situation where it's get them early, get them late, get them when they're coming, when they're going. And what you have to have is a mindset that Black Friday is more than a day. It's a kickoff and a mindset to an entire season.